Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Hard City's the newest board game Kickstarter that got launched in my house. And this is a game I was kind of excited about. I'm a big fan of Brook City, but Brook City's a little bit too much for my kids, so I wanted a cop game of moving around and running around that maybe I could fit with my family, or just a lighter game that wasn't so hard to set up. And Hard City has knocked that right out of the park. This is a game that I really, really, really like. The rules are kept simple. The setup is very easy to do. It's got 5 scenarios inside there so I can run around. It has some replayability in it. I wish the miniature quality was a little bit better. I wish there was just more. So I got the upgraded stuff with the Kickstarter, which is a different channel or a different video that I made. But I mean, what's in the box, there's plenty to play in here. There's plenty to do. But with these Kickstarters, you expect all of this stuff. And some people complain about that. Like, I don't want all this stuff in 18 expansions. This one brings the level down. It really sets it up, gives you a very solid game, very easy, very fun, very humbling to get something like this. That's not just, access and a mess of things. There is a hint of to be continued, so there is a hint of more to come in the future. I'll definitely be on board with that. I like the moving around and the one versus all. I don't usually like that, but I do like it in this game. I feel like there's good decisions on both sides, and both sides can definitely play. There's also a cooperative and solo mode where you use a different deck of cards that can take you through and has an AI to it. And I like that quite a bit too. I found myself pulling this out and playing it as a solo version. I'm going to paint my version all up, trying to make it a little cool, so I'm taking a little bit of a pause from the game. But this is something that I'm eager to get back to the table. And I find it a little bit easier to get back to the table than, say, Brook City, which is a game I love, because of there's not as much stuff, not as much decks to go through. So I like that quite a bit. If you're going for a lighter fare, miniatures moving around the board, you like the cop theme, Hard City is going to be a tremendous success for you. It's one I'm definitely going to recommend. It's an absolute keeper. Here's Hard City. You can see a very striking box with the cop jumping over, holding the lady. You've got the monsters here in the front. It's very, very striking. Love the artwork in this game. It's one of the things that drew me to it, to be honest. You're going to get a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. You're going to have your scenarios here that you're going to pop up and see. So the scenarios will drive the game for the most part. I'm not going to show you too many of these, but I'll just kind of go over them. And if you want to pause and look at it, you're going to get 5. So Mayhem on the Streets, Mutagen Heist, Toxic Revenge, Bloody Sunrise, where you're on the boats, 0 Hour, you can see a big mutant there. So you have 5 of those. Then these will be the characters in the game. You're going to have Donathan Johnson as the sergeant, Jenny Takabury as the Furious Nurse, Miranda Casey as Captain Nails. She's the beauty, I suppose. Marcellus Hammer as himself, of course, right? Fubar, the ugly one, one of our bad guys. Then you're going to have some sheets here for the one versus all. And then on the back end, the solo and cooperative. These will be your player aids. And these will be your boards. They're going to fold out and have different sides on them, so you can mix and match and get things set up. You're going to get, I believe, 3 of these that you'll have and kind of give you different settings as you're going through. And you can see the board there. Some toxic stuff coming out. It's very popular in the 80s, which this is just kind of made off of. You can see here, there's the gas station. Regular, $4.19. That's high for today's prices, isn't it? And then you have parking only in the setup here. So you're going to get only 3 boards, but they're all double-sided, which is nice. They're going to get a number of these cars. Now, there is a way to upgrade some of these into other things if you wanted to, but you're going to get these cardboard cars that will be sitting around. Very nice quality. Here's a truck. Help! On that side, it's a school bus. And then you're going to have some of these tiles that you have. These are really nice hard cardboard. Here's going to be your tracker that you'll use throughout the game. And then you're going to get any number of tokens that will be in here. There's really no storage here. You're just going to dump them in. And the donuts will be what you're using for your actions. Then you're going to get a number of these tiles and tokens. Some of this stuff can be upgraded with some of the extra components that you can purchase. You're going to get a number of cards here. Here's some dice down here. The core game only comes with 3. It's not very much, but one of the expansions does give you an extra set of dice. And you're going to see some advertisements for things. And you're going to have a number of cards that you'll be playing with in here. Everything has nice little artwork on it. The cards are really nice. I like the way these feel. These have a little bit of artwork at the bottom. This is what the bad guys will be using. But you can see the artwork on here. It's very cartoonish, as you can tell. So let's take a look at the Zero Corp cards here. And They have different backs you can see for the bad guys. And some cards that you'll have here with some advertisements. And these would be some of the allies you get: Blast, the Mutant Soldier, the Mutated Rat, etc. But well, it's kind of like an adult game, but a lot of the art is toned down so nearly anybody can play. I like that quite a bit. Nothing overly complicated here. The last set of cards you're going to have are the card for your characters and your items, etc. that you're going to get. You're going to get nice little pictures on them with explanations. Lots of cards in this game. And everybody's going to have their own set of cards they'll be utilizing for their own characters. Next, we're going to take a look at the miniatures. If they're doubles, I'm only going to show you one, and we'll kind of go through. So first we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of these guys that will be down. So you can see him. Now, the miniatures are not very heavy, not very detailed. These are not the best miniatures you've ever seen in your life. As you can see, they're okay. These are not the greatest. They're not terrible. They're very interesting. And they come in different character colors. They're not all just the boring gray that you see. Like most of them, you see a lot of neon colors. In case you're not going to paint them, it's going to be the Mutated Rat that you're going to see. And I think some of this is really, really neat. This wasn't a big blockbuster game or something, but it's kind of put out by an independent creation. I think they did a fairly good job on what you're expecting. Now, you know, there are companies like CMON that can put out fantastic miniatures, but this is not a bad start for this company. I like the design of some of this. It just wasn't in line with maybe what some other people are doing. So it'll be 2, 4, 6, 8. You're going to get 10 of these. These will be the mutants that you have. Now, there's not a wide variety of these bad guys that are in here. You can see there's not a ton of these. Let's jump into this big guy over here. He's going to pop out and have this gigantic hand that he's going to have coming out here. This is one of the cooler miniatures in the game to me. I like these big, giant guys. This is just silly that his left arm is that mutated and big. But I like this kind of thing. It's really cool. And then you're going to have this guy over here. We've seen him already, but I'll show him again since he's in my hand. And he's just kind of screaming. You got some spikes coming off of him right there. Nice. So let's take a look at the 4 characters you're going to have. This is going to be your unassuming hero here. And not a lot of detail. So, but he looks probably one of the better ones if you ask me. He's kind of pudgy. Looks kind of cool there. And this is Mr. Hammer himself. You always need some wanted female representation. My daughter, she always screams for the first girl. Who's the girl in the game, Dad? And she runs after him. So that's a look at the components that you're going to get in here. Everything is fairly good. Not the best I've ever seen. The cards are really good. The cardboard is good. The miniatures are fine. They're sustainable. Not the best I've ever seen, but very good. Good for a first start. Hard City, you're going to have the picture from the front of the box. Now, I find this world book to be pretty good. You're going to have a table of contents over here. These are just acknowledgments and, yay, they kickstarted it. Picture of all the components in the game. Very, very. So you have the batteries, the helicopter token. Everything is broken down, which is fantastic. Then you're going to have a overview of the game board, the officer sheet, the characters that are in the game, and kind of opens up the universe just a tad so you can kind of know what's going on. The picture of the game set up, which is very much, and how to adjust the difficulty, which is great that they put this right here by the setup. I like that quite a bit. An overview of the game, of what's going on, the different actions that you're going to have. And then right here will be where the bad guys start, because this is a 1 versus all is one of the features of the game. How to win, if you want to play a campaign, and a little bit about the foo bar. Now, here's what you're going to have also is a solo and competitive mode. This is probably the way I prefer to play the game. I just like playing that type of game. It'll go through the options for that and how you play that. Then the rest of this book is just the story. If you want to know a little bit more about the universe, how it's set up, and then you're going to jump into these scenarios, which have pictures. And this isn't any kind of spoiler. You're going to know this as soon as you open the book. And on the back, you just get a picture telling you there might be a sequel coming out. I found the rule book to be pretty good. I didn't have any problems when I was playing. The rules were very easy to digest and play. I didn't have any problems. With this sort of game, you're always going to have some questions that are going to pop up. I haven't had any problems yet. Each player is going to pick out a police officer that they want to be. You will have a track of health at the bottom, and you will have a power. You can move through spaces with obstacles, but you can't injure movement on them. She's a trainer. Once per turn, if you're on a space with no active mutant, you can spin a donut, which is an action, to make another officer in the same space restore health. So you're going to have 4 characters in the game, each one with their own unique powers. You also choose a scenario, which will have a setup over here, special rules, and kind of tell you how to get going. On the back of it, you can see the setup where you're going to put everything, and then the victory conditions for each one. I'm not going to spoil this for you. There's going to be 5 of them in the box. I'm going to just give you an overview of the game itself, and you can kind of go through the scenarios yourself and learn how to play these specific ones, but you have a general basic overview of how the game works. Each player will also take their skill cards for whatever player they're going to be. So if they're going to be him, you take your little deck of skill cards, and you're ready to go. So the first phase of the game is going to be event phase. You're going to take your 5 donuts, and these will be your player actions for the turn that you can utilize, and these are meant to be just trackers as you're going. Now there may be some beginning of round of stuff that will happen in the scenario, and then you're going to take a card from the cutscene deck, and you'll utilize this. So I'm going to show you a couple of these. It says, gear up. The officers draw 4 cards from the police equipment deck and distribute them among themselves, so everyone gets at least a card. One chosen officer rolls 2 dice, ignoring any of the rolled, and you can distribute the hit rolled among all mutants on the board. So you're going to get one of these cutscenes, and it will kind of tell you what's going to happen as you're going through. Then whoever's playing Zero Doctor will take their deck of cards that they have utilized. They're going to draw 1 for each player in the game, and that will kind of be their hand for the turn. After you've done that little bit of cleanup, it's called the event phase, you're going to move into the action phase, and this is where the players will spend their donuts or their actions to do things on the board. This is going to be the majority of what you're doing in the game. Here, I'm just kind of showing you there are 2 officers on the board and some mutants on the board, and I'm going to utilize this just to kind of show you what some of the basic actions are going to be. The first one is you can spend an action to move. Very easy. Move 1, 2, or you're going to move just 1. However many you want to move. So I can move just 1, and I can end my movement right there. If there happens to be any obstacles on the board, you're not able to move through it, they will kind of keep you from moving. You can shoot through them, but you cannot move through them. Just kind of know that. Now, if you're ever on the board and you have these crates and you're in a spot, you can open up these crates, which will give you these item cards that you can utilize, give you different things like a megaphone, move a chosen civilian, heavy metal tape, civilian officers within 1 space, deal 1 damage to chosen mutants. Got a baseball bat, kill a chosen mutant on your space, counts as close combat. So things you can get to kind of upgrade, and this is actually a free thing that you can do, a free action just to open up one of these crates. There will also be these civilians that will be out on the board. If they're in your location, and let's say this officer is going to move, he can escort the civilian, well, only 1 civilian at a time, and when you move, you can move the civilian with you, and that's kind of how you'll get them across the board. Sometimes there'll be goals that you need to get them to. So you can kind of move the civilians, and that's a free action. It's just part of your movement phase. Also what you can do is you can shoot people. So as long as they're on the board, you can pretty much shoot them anywhere. There's no line of sight or anything like that. So if you can see him, which I can, you would simply roll the 2 dice. If I don't hit anything, obviously it's a miss. 1 hit would stun them, and they just kind of be knocked over. If I were to hit 2 hits, then that would be enough to kill them and you remove them from the board. Very easy to do. Keep in mind that there are some cards in here that are reactions that possibly Dr. Zero could play. Play this card when an officer moves to a space and active mutant. The officer loses a health and 2 of his actions. So just know there's some things in here that you might be able to play that would combat it. Otherwise, if you don't have the right card, then it's just a matter of rolling the dice to find out what's going to happen. Now, if you really needed to kill somebody and you didn't want to roll the dice and take the chances of not killing them, you can give up 2 of your donuts, 2 of your actions. It's called an aim shot. You just immediately kill it. But it's going to take up more actions to do that. So when you have a whole bunch of guys and you're surrounded, maybe you're in here, you might want a chance to kill 2 of these, or you can just take 2 actions and kill 1 of them for sure. So it depends on how strategically you want to utilize that or what kind of circumstances you find yourself in. Now, if you're ever in the same location, you can give up 1 action, 1 donut, and you can take what's called a close combat. And at that point, you would just roll a single die, and then you'd have the chance of stunning them. That would be the result. Now, if you roll 1 of these, you can give up an additional action and turn that into another hit, so you can stun them in close combat. Remember, in close combat, you can only stun them, but when you're shooting from a distance, you can actually kill them and remove them. For another action, if you're in the same location, I can give or take equipment. That's pretty normal in these type of games. I could use equipment, so if I had something that required an action, I could utilize these cards for that purpose. In addition, a lot of your skill cards, and this one's Sprinter. Once per turn, you can spend action to move up by 3 spaces. So some of these, here have a heavyweight. Your maximum heart is increased by 1 after you gain the skill Restore 3. So it doesn't require an action. Here is the good old days. Once per turn, you can spend 2 to stun all mutants on your space. So these will require actions too as you're going through the game. Then after you used all of your actions, one of the officers, so let's say this guy went, Hammer went, then it would be Dr. Zero's turn, then the other officer would go, and then Dr. Zero would go again. So on Dr. Zero's turn, he's going to play one of the cards that he drew for the turn. And there's 4 different cards he's going to have in here. So I'm just going to give you an example of each one. It could be a special. Read the episode special card effect and treat it as if it was printed on this card. You could have an action. Choose a mutant. Deal 2 hits to any officer on the same space. Afterwards, stun this mutant. That's just one possible card. Instant. Choose any civilian or officer on a space with no active mutants. You can move the civilian by 2 spaces or the officer by 1 space. And you have reactions. And this will usually be because something else was played. Play this card when the officer rolls one of these explanation point ones in close combat, and then the officer would lose 2. So there's 4 different kind of cards that you can play, and you're going to have 4 because there's going to be 4 officers moving around the board, and you can play these on your turn. So when you're playing these, a couple of things are going to be happening. Let's say this action card. So what Dr. Chaos can do is he can play the action on the action card if he wanted to, or he can activate 2 of these at the bottom. So this one right here will like spawn mutants. This will move mutants with the feet, and this one will attack. So you could choose 2, like maybe move and then attack, or spawn and then move. That's just an option that Dr. Chaos will have as he's going through his turn. So how do you win the game? So what you're doing is you're playing to 7 victory points. So this will usually tell you how it is. If Dr. Chaos ever needs to put a mutant on the board and there aren't any miniatures left, then you would get a victory point for that. But there'll be other ways that you can get victory points as you're going through. So in scenario 1, it's not a spoiler, you get 1 victory point for killing 10 mutants, 1 victory point for an evacuated civilian. And then the bad guys, Dr. Chaos, gets 1 victory point for killing a civilian. So when you kill a civilian, they just get kind of stunned, and on the next turn they come up. So they can be killed multiple times. And 1 VP for eliminating an officer. So that's what you would do there. So it's a battle to whoever gets 7 victory points first is your winner, and that's how you play Hard City. Who should buy this game? I would say anybody with families. If you want like a dudes on a map, but you want it to be enough where you can play with your kids, this is definitely going to be it. Cooperative, solo, 1v all those modes are on here. They don't feel tacked on. The AI for the cooperative and solo mode, although it's not the main mode, 1v all is, it feels really, really good. And the game doesn't feel different. It feels the same as it does versus 1v all. So you have that aspect, you can do whatever you want with it. This rule set is simpler. It's very easy to pick up within 15 minutes, opening the box and being able to play this game. You can set it up really easily, probably in 5 minutes or less. You'll be up and playing anytime. So it's going to be very appealing to a lot of people. I don't think this is a game that people have heard about, but it's one I highly, highly recommend. Hard City is a definite keeper for us. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel, lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching, and everybody else, keep playing.